Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Karina, and I live in the Pacific Northwest with my partner, our two kitties, who may make an appearance. They have been up here already, and they may come back. And my two horses, Bragi and Odin, the Mustangs, that I adopted from the Bureau of Land Management Wild Horse Adoption Program. I will have links to that in the description box, which I think is called something else now. So under this video will be a box that says show more. So click on that and it'll have all the links to things that I talk about today. I hope I remember to put them in. Anyway, if I haven't said so already, we live in the Pacific Northwest, way up in the northwest corner of Washington State, and it is November 23rd, 2023, the day before Thanksgiving. I have a cup of herbal tea because I had a latte this morning when I went to town and ran errands, and I'm a little bit wired for sound. So in this podcast, I talk about my knitting projects, and I have been very productive lately. And I also talk about my horsemanship journey. So I'm looking at my computer because I just remembered something that I wanted to talk about, and I don't want to forget. So I'm just going to make a note right now. Okay. My computer's in my lap. So what I am wearing a basic raglan sweater, top down construction. The pattern is a formula from knittingfool.com, and I found it very helpful. It was wonderful to knit. This is out of, I think, just a Lion brand yarn. Nothing, so big box store, nothing particularly special about it. I want to say it's about 20% acrylic and 80% wool, self-striping, so kind of a nice fall pattern. I made 3/4 length sleeves because I was playing yarn chicken. One mistake I made is that when I did the decreases, I made the cuff length, which is at my forearm, which would be at the wrist. So it was a little tight at first, but it has stretched out, and it fits fine now. So that's just a word to the wise. If you don't think about things like that when you make modifications, you need to make adjustments. So yeah, so this was probably one of the least expensive sweaters I've made. I want to say it took maybe a cake and a half of yarn. I can't remember what the other thing was that I may have knitted out of this. So, and I'm not remembering, so I'm not going to strain my brain too much right now. It was sunny a minute ago, so I closed the drape, and then all of a sudden the clouds just came in. So lighting, this is natural lighting, maybe a little bit filtered. So hopefully it stays that way. I have another finished object. Can you believe it? So in the last several episodes, I have had at least one finished object for you. So I'm just kind of looking back. Yeah, I want to say this is the 4th time I have had, no, this is the 5th time. I have 6. Oh my goodness, ridiculous. I have had a finished object every single episode for the last several. So pretty pleased with that. So what did I finish? I finished the Acadia National Park hat made from this book, Knitting National Parks. So it was really fun. In fact, this is the Acadia National Park hat. I gave it to my partner, Randy. For one thing, he is originally from the Northeast, and Acadia National Park has special meaning to him because his father passed away when Randy was a young boy, and some of his father's ashes are spread along Otter Cliffs in Acadia National Park. So I didn't intentionally knit this hat for him, but when I finished it, it just seemed a really obvious choice to give it to him. It is darker colors. I don't have it with me because I already gave it to him, and he just immediately stuck it in his back pocket and walked away with it. So I'm glad he's enjoying it. I will post a picture in that I had him take. I had it on and he took the picture. So I am going to post that. And in fact, I'm going to pause right now so that I remember to do that. Okay, that is just a note to self to post that picture when I'm editing. As you can see, I'm a highly sophisticated podcaster with super great editing skills. Okay, that was completely facetious. So, yeah, I just need to set little reminders for myself, because I know a lot of podcasters, they go through and they like rewatch their entire video and put in text and things like that. I don't typically do that. It's kind of what you see is what you get. Though the people who do that, I think they make some money off their podcasts, and I don't do this for money. I do this for fun. For one thing, it keeps me a little bit accountable, and I kind of like to tell stories, I suppose. So that's why I do this. If I have a day job, a full-time day job, so I don't need to earn any money doing this. Okay, so whips. These are whips that you have seen before, but I have made progress. So I'm still working on the Stephen West MKAL. I started what is section 10. I think it's clue 2. So let me get this out. I've talked about the yarn before. So some of this is legacy yarn that was gifted to me from my Aunt Gail, who is actually Randy's Aunt Gail. And she was invited to go through the stash of a woman who ended up having to go to a memory care home. So let's see which needle is connected to it. Okay, let me show you the finished side. So this is the finished two sides of the square. The legacy yarn is this kind of middle stripe right here. Let me see if I can get it closer. So this might be the lolodidit yarn, I think. And then this blue and this green are, it's a merino fingering. And I have the yarn in my show notes. It's Angel something. And then this yarn here is by Jadawoo Designs, and it just really nicely ties all these colors in together. So that's where I'm at, and I'm really only like on this, looks like I might be on this second stripe, maybe third stripe of that first color. So this is going to take me a while. I'm not in a hurry. It's a fingering weight shawl, so I can wear it next spring. Not really sure what it's going to go with clothing wise, although I tend to wear a lot of blue and colors, like cold colors like that. The other works in progress that I have, well, I'll just tell you right now, I'm doing some gift knitting, so I'm not going to show that just because that is obvious. Something very noisy just drove by, but I think everything's okay. Probably an empty trailer. I don't know if you've heard an empty trailer go by, but they make a racket. Okay, so this is the Sophia Loren, I almost said Audrey Hepburn. So Sophia Loren Riverside Sweater. It's bottom up. Let me get the bottom ribbing kind of straightened out. So this is, I'm almost to the point where I'm going to divide for sleeves. So you start from the bottom and knit up. This section right here, first time ever had to hold, let me see, 3 strands for color work. I do 2-stranded color work a lot, but 3-stranded color work was new for me. That side is gonna need a little blocking assistance because it's a little bit snugger than the other sections. And some of these are just knit. Oops, that's the back, sorry. And you can totally see like where the round ends. So this is the front. Yeah, so yeah, so this is supposed to be a main color, which is actually this color. This is a locally produced yarn, locally produced in the Skagit Valley. It's kind of a grayish brown. And then this red, which is a Patons 100% worsted. That's supposed to be a contrast color. And then this color here is Fromage, is also the locally produced yarn from Harmony Fields sheep farm. And then it is, I don't know what you do. You mill it, spin it, something at a local mill in Skagit County. So yeah, this is it's a really fun knit, and it's going pretty quickly. I mean, it's worsted weight yarn. The needles are the US 7, so that's one reason why it's going so quickly. Let me see. I have a label of the Fromage. So Skagit Valley yarn, fairly rustic, East Frisian, and then with something I honestly don't know how to pronounce. Looks like so my Pacific Northwest pronunciation, it looks like Lacaune, Lacaune. The other colorway is Truffle. So, and there it looks pretty true to color, the kind of the nice dark brown. So that's what that looks like. And this sweater, I think I've mentioned before, is like I've also said, I can't remember if this is a free pattern or not. This is the Sophia Loren Riverside from Silver Screen Knits Volume 2. I need to look that up one of these days. And it's based on a movie, Woman of the River. So it's a woman, a peasant, played by Sophia Loren, who is working in a factory and falls in love with a handsome smuggler. So kind of a classic storyline that I love. So, but yeah, it was really, I thought it was a very eye-catching pattern. Wasn't expecting it to be so red. I was hoping it would be more brown. I suspect I'm going to have a lot of brown yarn left because I bought a sweater's quantity of that, thinking, you know, not talking while I'm putting it away, not really being certain what I was going to knit, and then I saw that silver screen pattern and thought, oh, that would be perfect. So I kind of wish I would have chosen a different color of contrast color. I had originally picked a gray that is also a Patons yarn. So if I would have done the brown, the gray, and the white, it would probably be showing mostly gray, which that's fine. Okay, we're 8 minutes in, and I'm almost done talking about knitting. Future whips, Advent knitting is going to start. I kind of picked out once I finished the Acadia hat, I picked out another pattern and yarn that I had already all put together and planned. But I thought, well, Advent knitting is coming up, and I bought a stupid amount of Advent. I want to say I have like 4, maybe 5. But I'm pretty much planning on doing 3 Advent knits. The first one is a Bakery Bears Advent. It's their mystery cowl. And then, so I don't know what it is. It's fingering yarn. The theme is Nutcracker. And I don't remember what the needle size is. It makes me feel like it's going to be socks, which I'm kind of hoping not, but I I love Kay Jones patterns, so I'm gonna do it. I already have the yarn all picked out. It was from my stash. I picked, I want to say blue, a red, somewhat variegated. It might have some blue streaks in it, which is a Legacy yarn. And it's either hedgehog fibers or lolodidit. I can't remember which it is. But once I get to it, I will update my my show notes for that. That has that information. And then the blue is Jadawoo navy, just navy, I think is what it's called. Fingering weight yarn. You have seen that yarn before in the Sophia's Tales socks, the MKAL that I just finished a couple episodes ago. And then the gold is from, it's a Berroco 100% wool fingering weight yarn. So that's that MKAL. The next MKAL I'm thinking about is going to be the Arne Carlos. It's a stocking made out of Norwegian wool. I need to see if I have the right colors. I think the colors they are calling for are red, white, and green or blue. I feel like I have 3 balls of Norwegian wool, but possibly not in those colors. So I'm gonna have to look into that. And then the third one, I'm going to make a shawl out of this book. This is the Telly Beans book for self-striping yarn, of which I have a lot. And I have mentioned that with sock knitting, because of the size of the needles, is kind of hurting my thumbs. So I'm trying to knit things with bigger needles. So I was thinking of making the For the Thrill shawl. So here is the pattern. It takes a main color and 2 contrasting colors. This is what it looks like. I am hoping out of all the advents that I ordered that there will be 3 that go well together, and I will knit that shawl. So chances are I am going to have to put my current works in progress on hold. Well, that's okay. I mean, I'm in no rush. The sweater is going to be finished, I'm sure, sometime in January, which there's still plenty of winter left up here to wear a sweater like that. And then the shawls are the mystery shawl, which is no longer a mystery because the MKAL finished, the Stephen West MKAL finished. You know, I can't really say when that's going to be done. It's taken me a long time. I started that it was the first week in October. So I want to say it was like around, I think it started on the 5th or something like that. And I probably started around the 10th. So it's taken me a long time, but you know, it's fingering weight yarn. So, doesn't matter. It's just going to take as long as it takes. So, that is the knitting portion of this podcast. I have been doing some horsemanship stuff. I talked in my last episode, I talked about the lesson that I had with Odin, and I was still kind of thinking about it at the time. I have since practiced that lesson on my own. So riding Odin in the round pen with a bareback pad, just making the transitions very clear. Okay, I want you to stop right now. And I want you to take a breath while we get ready to do the next thing. Because he anticipates a lot and he starts like mouthing the bit. Nom, 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 nom. And then he starts guessing. Well, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? Are we going to back up? And I just want him to stop and wait and be okay with it. So we've been practicing that. And I think he's getting a lot better at it. I use positive reinforcement, which means that he gets a treat when he does something right. And it's a method that is well established, particularly in marine mammal training. Shauna Karish is one of the people that I listen to. Mary Kitzmiller is another, and Alexandra Kurland is a third one. So they all have podcasts or are featured on podcasts, and Alexandra Kurland has a couple books out, and she is the owner, I guess is the right term, for the Clicker Training Center, and she is based in the Northeast. Shauna Karish, I'm not exactly sure where she's based out of these days, maybe Pennsylvania, not sure. Mary Kitzmiller, you can find her on the Horse Radio Network in the Horses in the Morning lineup. She has episodes going back for years. I want to say for as long as I have been listening to that network, which was since 2014. She has a monthly episode on horse training, and you can listen to her great advice. She is also a Mustang trainer. Bragi is, I'm still working on Bragi. We have been playing the, like, do you want to put on your halter game? So what that means is I hold the halter out, just kind of out in front, and his job is to come over to me. And I do this when I'm pretty close proximity to him, not like he's across the pasture and I'm like, well, here's your halter, come and get it. His job is to come up beside me, facing in the same direction that I am, and stick his nose in the halter. And he's doing that really well. It's a game he enjoys. Again, I use positive reinforcement, and he takes to that very well. I learned about Bragi is that he's a very slow learner. It takes him a long time to process. He tends to be a bit emotional about things. He is younger. He is 5. And I would say he's an immature 5-year-old. Odin is 11. I got Odin when he was 6, and he was much more mature, somewhat emotional about certain things, like getting in the horse trailer. But if you kind of imagine what their history is, when they were gathered, they were herded into a corral, gathered, meaning that they were probably herded by helicopter and possibly ATVs, possibly people on horseback. So they are running terrified. They are going into this corral and they are trapped. And then they are basically shushed into these big stock trailers and taken to the holding location in Burns, Oregon. So their first experience with trailer training is all about terror and having no other choices but to go here in this loud banging things with who knows how many other horses are in with them, and maybe not even horses from their own herd. So these may or may not be their friends. So if you think about that and what their experience is with trailer loading, you can understand. I think it's easy to understand why they might be hesitant to get into a trailer. So I spend a lot of time teaching them about choice and making it a good deal. So, a long time Odin said, no thanks, I don't want to get in the trailer. And I said, okay, you don't have to get in the trailer. It doesn't mean that you get to go eat grass or go back to the barn. It means that we're going to do something else. We're going to do some work. Maybe we are going to perfect your backup. Maybe we are going to, just trot around in some circles and practice our transitions. And then I'm going to show you the trailer again and say, would you like to do this? And eventually he's like, when I get in the trailer, I get to rest. He still doesn't love it, but he does it because that is the bond that we have built over the last 5 years of my owning him, 5.5 years of my owning him. Bragi, Bragi is doing really well with trust about my leading him away from the barn, taking up to the front part of the yard to graze. He did a fabulous job yesterday. He doesn't always love walking between the house and the barn because it's a bit of a journey. It's you have to go through a wooded area over a creek, which has a culvert. And it's just weird. It's just it's like you leave the barnyard and you're in a completely different environment. It's definitely a wildlife corridor. We see tracks there of all kinds of deer and, I'm guessing bobcat, coyote, whatever uses that. We've seen bear across the road from us. Wouldn't be surprising if a bear uses it. So anyway, it's a very strange environment. And then you get back into civilization, as it were. But it's not their civilization. There's the garage, there's often a vehicle, there's the house, there's stuff behind the garage, like all the gardening equipment and stuff like that. So, but I think, once we get through even Odin is nervous going between the house or the barn and the house. But you get up to the lawn and it's like, yay, there's great green grass up here. So, in part, of course I mow during the summer, but I kind of preserve it this time of year just for them to come up and graze because it's nice for them. And I like them. It's a way of exposing them to a new environment and giving them a reward at the same time. That was a long-winded introduction to trailer training. My truck and trailer are up here. So my trainer and I have brought Bragi into the trailer. He does okay getting his feet in, but he's really not ready yet. And we learned that kind of the hard way. So I've been spending a lot of time just going over the basics with him and try to teach him ways to cope with his anxiety about things, give him enough stress to help him deal with it, teach him how to deal with it emotionally, but also make it fun, make it a game. I think this is a great way, a great learning environment. So that's where we are with that. Yesterday, Bragi walked up to the front. He was kind of nervous going between the barn and the house. But once we got up to the yarn, yarn, that's hilarious, yard. He immediately settled into grazing. He hasn't always done that. If there's, the roads near the front gate and, every time a car went by, he'd like, what was that? But I told him, I'll watch for cars. You just graze. And, he really settled into grazing. A few cars went by, no big deal. No dump trucks, log trucks, or anything like, or, horse trailers or empty trailers went by. So it wasn't a lot of racket, but I was super pleased to see him settle into grazing for as long as he did. So it's Thanksgiving weekend. Hoping to get out and ride Odin sometime this weekend. Of course, we're having guests tomorrow, so probably not tomorrow. Maybe Friday. I don't know. We often get our Christmas tree the day after Thanksgiving, so I'm not sure. But sometime this weekend, I want to get out and ride. I have some goals in mind for Odin. I keep thinking about that I'd like to join Pony Club because Pony Club is not for youth anymore. They have opened it up to adults, and I think it's just a super fun way to learn, and they have very established levels. So when you start at the level that you're at, and then you can progress. So I don't have any great ambitions to get to like the higher jumping levels with Odin. If we just do some basic 18-inch to 24-inch jumps and maybe a few cross-country jumps, I'll be super happy. And I think he would enjoy that too. Usually I also talk about gardening, but before I leave the subject of horses, I am going to post a video that I took of Odin and me walking in the tree farm a couple weeks ago. I don't think I added it to any other podcast since then, but if I did, I'm going to put it at the end so that if you don't want to watch that, you can, we'll be done here soon and you can skip that part or you can watch it. I don't think it's very long, probably less than 5 minutes. And it, shows you me walking with Odin and in the beautiful tree farm. Gardening. You would think that there isn't much gardening going on this time of year, and you would be right. Although I am doing some indoor gardening, mostly microgreens and stuff like that. I actually made a salad yesterday out of some pea shoots that I have growing in my indoor garden downstairs under grow lights. There's some little microgreens, like I said. I also still have some microgreens outside and some larger greens. Like spinach and things like that. So I had a whole salad from that yesterday. It was pretty awesome. So we have had several frosts here, including some that were in the 20s that killed my fall potato crop, unfortunately. But my greens are very hardy. So I highly encourage people, if I think there's some greens and herbs you can grow in a windowsill, even in the great dark north. So yeah, that is gardening. There's lots of, I included some podcasts that I watch for gardening. Grow Veg, British fellow who does, I think, mostly outdoor gardening, but he does mention indoor gardening, and it's about the same climate zone that I am here. Callie Kim, Garden and Home, Do It Yourself. I have a link to her YouTube channel. She does a lot of the indoor microgreen gardening, so a great resource for that. Charles Dowding, another British fellow who is in the same climate zone. However, his location in Great Britain is about 2 degrees north. So I believe he's at 51 degrees latitude north. We are here where I am is about 48 something, almost 49, 49 degrees north. The 49th parallel is the boundary between the US and Canada. And then Spicy Mustache. It looks like mustache. Also another British gardener in London, and he does a lot of urban gardening and has some fascinating do-it-yourself stuff, container gardening. So highly recommend those videos. And then I did a cooking one. This is Buon Appetiti. It's my Italian grandmother cooks something, and it's really fun. Just love it. So recommend those. And that is kind of it. I'm reading the No Dig Gardening by Charles Dowd book. Lots of do-it-yourself stuff. I will probably buy that book because there's some recipes for like making your own laundry detergent and making your own soap and and making your own cleaner, non-toxic cleaners. And one reason why I say that is because I have a friend who runs an animal rescue, and she mostly goats, but she takes in all manner of stray cats and animals like that. And she has several cats. Well, inadvertently, I think she said she hired a house cleaner or something like that, and the house cleaner has pets, but she didn't really think anything of it when this person cleaned her house. But her cat ended up being very ill shortly after. And what happens is if you like clean your floors or something that the cat walks across or comes in contact with, they groom themselves and they will ingest these toxins. And the cleaner, by all means, didn't mean any harm, but she used some kind of an essential oil that was toxic to the cat. And the cat was really kind of teetering on the brink of life and death for, I want to say 17 days. And bless my friend's heart, she is stubborn as the day is long for advocating for her animals. And I think it would have been really, I'm not going to say easy because that's a terrible word, tempting to say, I am going to do the right thing and end this cat's life now because the cat is suffering so much. But my friend and her vet, in consultation with her vet, kept pulling for this cat, and the cat is recovering. So bless her heart. It's a difficult subject to talk about, when to be compassionate and end your life, or animal's life, the right time. I mean, there's certainly that say end your animal's life on a good day rather than a bad day. I don't know. That's such a personal choice. I mean, when my dog was getting old, um, and she was clearly getting to the end of her life, but she kept trying so hard. And animals have a lot of try. Um, Unfortunately, at the end, I ended my dog's life on a bad day. Um, the good news is, on the bad day, she didn't suffer extraordinarily for very long. It might have been a couple of hours at the most. Um, it was terrible. This happened 3 years ago, and I still am emotionally impacted by it because it was tough. I devoted a great deal of time and energy and money to making this dog comfortable and happy, and she was clearly getting very arthritic. She was a hound mix, and she was almost 15, so old for a dog of that size. And she was at a point where I was taking in for like weekly laser treatments to alleviate her arthritis. She really couldn't wag her tail anymore. I had the rubber thingies, nail covers put on her nails so that she could grip the floor, because we have tile and wood floors, so that she could grip it without falling and scaring herself to death. The worst part, I mean, not just the physical pain, but she was definitely getting a little senile too. She would get confused and a little bit lost, even in the house. Like, where am I? Who are you? Where are my people? I mean, it's like she would turn around and not see us. And it's like, where are my people? So, it's possible I could have said, well, clearly her life is not what it used to be, and it's only 40 or 50% of what it used to be, when she was younger and could run around and play and be happy and stuff like that. But like I said, there were still things she loved. She loved food. She loved kind of playing a little bit too. So I don't regret waiting until a bad day, until it was clear that there was no other way. She was not going to live through that day. So I don't feel bad about that. I had a horse too that passed away also in 2020, in February of 2020, and he colicked. Vets will tell you that all horses eventually colic if they don't die from something else first. So, and he had a severe twist, is what we determined. I went out to feed early in the morning, and he was clearly not well. He'd been in pain. He, I can't remember. It's been too long for me to remember all the details, but I knew that something was wrong, and I called the vet at 5 a.m. And the vet, fortunately, wasn't far away, was able to come, and she'd ran all the diagnostics to see if, if anything could pass through his system, and nothing was coming out. So, and he was an arthritic retired racehorse with no real purpose in life except to be a pasture companion to my Mustang, Odin. And he was also extremely anxious. He was extremely herd-bound. So if I took Odin away to do something, the thoroughbred would just run around and hurt himself because he was arthritic. He was only 17 at the time. And then my vet very kindly said, we could try to take him into surgery. I don't foresee the outcome being very positive, and it would be very traumatic to get him in the trailer, and he might go down in the trailer on the way, which would be catastrophic. So she said, if it were my horse, and she did have a horse at the time, she said, I would put him down. So that's the decision that we made. Again, it was another bad day. The day before, he was probably having a good day. You know, he was with his buddy Odin. He was eating good food. He was getting to, you know, do what he liked to do. And that included spying on the neighbors. That was his favorite thing. Well, I don't know whether he liked it. It's just that he always had to keep an eye on the neighbors. He was a bit of a tattletale. So that was kind of a long-winded tangent about animal care. It is a responsible decision that you have to make. I think it's always important to make the decision based on the animal's outlook on life and well-being rather than your own. And that, for instance, keeping your dog around just because you're going to miss them. And I don't know, it's so much more complicated than that. It's a very personal decision, and it has to be an unselfish decision is really what I want to say about that. And an impossible decision. So I didn't really mean to go down that rabbit hole. That is the trouble, that when you don't follow your script, if one has a script, and and you just sort of tell a story and hope that it ends up in the right place. So the reason why I got on this is because I was talking about no-dig gardening and the book by Charles Dowd, and he has some non-toxic recipes for cleaning. So, and I'm very conscientious of that because we have two kitties here that we adore, and I would hate to see them suffer in the way that my friends had to witness hers suffer, and just the emotional toll it took on her. When the cat finally started making the turn towards health, it was like a huge burden was lifted. And again, bless her heart for advocating so much for that cat. So I'm super happy about that. I was going to end on something what I'm reading. I'm reading this great book about I think it's called The Summer of Wild Horses. Or The Summer of Horses in Iceland. I'm going to try to find it. Summer of Horses in Iceland. It's by Tori Bilski. It's a fun book. I haven't got very far into it, but the woman is very inspiring, and is basically talking about her decision to go to Iceland and be with the Icelandic horses, who are kind of, I guess, her heart horses. My heart horses are Mustangs. So eventually I would like to go to Southeast Oregon, where Odin is from. Bragi is from Central Oregon. So eventually that's a field trip that I would like to make. Actually, I've been to both places in the last year, but we didn't see any wild horses. We didn't go to, specifically where their herd management areas are, but someday I will do that. So on that note, I'm going to end this video, and I will put a clip of the walk that Odin and I took a couple weeks ago. So have a very nice Thanksgiving if you celebrate, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Greetings, everyone. Karina and Odin here. Odin being the handsome Mustang, who I guess isn't into selfies that much. So it is November 12th, 2023. We are just out for a short walk. It's been a while since we've been out. The tree farm was closed for hunting. The weather has been weather, and I don't know, there's been other things going on too. The last time I rode on the trails, I rode another horse because, why was that? I think my truck and trailer were occupied with maybe hay, maybe that might have been when the derelict camper was going away. Can't quite remember all the details about that. So it's been a while since I've ridden on the trail. So I thought we would just go for a walk for a little leg stretcher, warm up for hopefully another trail ride on another fine, dry November day. So I'm going to sign off for now. So bye-o. Bye-o. Yeah, thanks.